So I've got a question today from a young man who says, "Yo, Elliot, how can I be more dominant as a man and more respected?" And so what I'd like to do with this question is refer to a great book, a book that I think all men should read called The Way of Man by Jack Donovan. And by the way, I do think that men need to learn how to be men. There are a lot of people that say, "Oh, well, you should just know how to be a man," but that's never been the case. Our ancestors understood that a boy becoming a man two things need to happen. He needs to be separated from his mother, very critical, get out of your mama's house. And number two, he needs to atone with his father, meaning getting to know the world of men, getting to know what it means to be a man. There's always been a meaning attributed to masculinity. Today, it usually comes from media, pop culture, music, movies, and other bullshit like that. But in the past, it was always related to fathers, grandfathers, ancestors, and ultimately the Father, God. So today, where we lack a lot of that, I think it's a good idea that men read manly books. And The Way of Man is a good one. I also have another one here with me right now. Hard Times Create Strong Men by Stephen Arnio, another great book. So read up on this stuff, men. It's important. Now, back to your question about how to be more dominant and respected as a man. So one of the things that Jack Donovan describes in his book is that men are best at two things. There are two things that men really do well, that we're designed to do, that we're made to do, that society wouldn't thrive, wouldn't survive if men didn't do these things. Number one, men protect the border. If there were no men to protect the perimeter, I think he says, protect the perimeter, there would be no safe space. You know, we got all these safe spaces today. Safe space for women and children. When we live, operate, and deal with each other on our most primordial levels, women remain inside where they create life, support life, grow a future for society, and men stay on the outside, work on the outside where we protect from invading tribes, from ravenous beasts, and anything that will come in and threaten, right? And then the other thing that we do is we provide, meaning expand. So if you've got the perimeter, we'll protect the perimeter, but then conquest. Let's get out there and get what's going on over there. Let's broaden our area. Let's make our area bigger. Let's take what those guys got over there and bring them into our world, or take their stuff, or move into a territory where there's more opportunity for food. You see what I'm saying? So the one thing is to protect, the other one is to move out, to conquer. And so you asked me this question about what it takes to be more of a dominant and respected man. I would start with the respect part. You know, being dominant, you know, I think that'll come as a byproduct of being a respectful man. And Jack goes on in his book and he talks about how men became men in those days when protecting and providing were critical. And you had to know that the guy that was by your side was trustworthy. To be respected is to be trustworthy, because it was a matter of life or death out there, right? You got to know that the guy that's next to you can carry his weight, right? If we're out here protecting the borders, and this guy, last time he said he was going to do something, he fell asleep, that means he's not a trustworthy man, does not gain respect, does not do what he says he's going to do, and therefore will never be dominant, will never be powerful, will never be trusted or looked upon as somebody worth being a leader or even worth being on the front lines. He goes on in his book, interesting, he talks about effeminate men in the book, or men that are effeminate, sissy-like, pansies, girly men. And he says that a big part of the reason why it's just innate to sort of cringe at girly men, even today, is because inside we kind of know that this guy is not trustworthy, because a girly man's not going to act like a man on the front line. So if they could sniff out any sense of sissiness, you immediately was not trustworthy. I don't want this guy next to me, right? I don't want him to be fighting side by side with me because he can allow his effeminacy to take over and run, right? He can run. He can go cry to mommy. He's much better off staying at home in the inner circle with the ladies braiding hair or something like that. So my point is, and what Jack's point is in that book, is that to be a respected man is to be a trustworthy man, and to be a trustworthy man is to be a man that does what he says he's going to do, follows through, is somebody who acts like a man, who can provide and protect, who can stand side to side with me and get what needs to get done, and there'd be no question about it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by freaking text messages. Part of the problem with filming on my iPad. So being respected as a man really boils down to being trustworthy, being capable of carrying your weight. Nobody wants to be around somebody that can't carry their weight. Someone who's gonna whine and cry or disappear when things get tough. To be respected as a man is to be a manly man, a man that's not going to sissy out when going gets tough. So, and then protecting and providing, in its most primordial sense, which is protect the perimeter and expand the territory. I'm just gonna throw this one last thing in there, ruffle little feathers, stir the pot up a little bit, rock the boat, because a lot of people might not like what I'm about to say. But manly men are what created society, all society, civilizations. All the great things come from manly men who protect and then conquer. And so I've noticed that in our effeminate culture, now that things are easy, they say that weak times create weak men. Well, it's easy times create weak men. Yeah, it's easy times, so men don't need to be strong anymore. So they can come up with all kinds of ideas that are they're superfluous, they're bullshit ideas. They're ideas that don't fly in reality. They just sound nice, right? And so one of these ideas is that here in America, Europeans stole America from the natives that was here. That's a wrong way of thinking about it. If you're an American man, especially a European man, one of the most hated men in this country, by the way, which I recognize, even as a mixed Negroid, you might call me. This country wasn't stolen from anybody, it was conquered. Because that's what men do. The stronger man conquers. The stronger, smarter, more dominant men conquer, right? So it just, instead of, putting victim roles on people, ooh, it was stolen, look at it like a fucking man. No, the country was conquered, not stolen, taken over by the stronger, smarter, more dominant people. And so with that, I offer you to have a sense of dignity and pride in your country, right? But anyway, that's an aside. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to be a man in this sissified fucking world. Tough thing to do. Best way to go about it is just stick by your word. Done.